The crowd at the shooting range fell silent as the young man slapped $1,000 on the table and sneered at the old man in the red jacket. 1,000 says you miss, old man. Hell, I'll be surprised if you can even see the targets. The veteran, white hair catching the afternoon sun, sad eyes steady beneath his worn red jacket, simply nodded once and said quietly, 5 rounds, 600 yards. Nobody knew they were watching a legend. Nobody knew what those weathered hands had done in the mountains of Afghanistan. Comment: respect if you believe experience deserves honor. The shooting competition had drawn marksmen from across 3 states. Young bucks with expensive rifles and custom gear, all eager to prove themselves on the extended range. The veteran had arrived alone in a battered pickup truck, carrying an old rifle case that looked like it had survived more deployments than most of these competitors had years on Earth. He wore his signature red jacket over a faded t-shirt, his white beard neatly trimmed, his expression carrying that perpetual sadness that comes from seeing too much, losing too many brothers. He paid his entry fee with cash, counted carefully from a worn wallet, and moved to the registration table without fanfare. The young challenger was everything. The veteran wasn't. Mid-20s, designer sunglasses, tactical gear that cost more than some used cars, sponsored patches covering his shooting vest. He'd been holding court near the main pavilion, showing off his custom precision rifle to admirers, talking about his competition wins, his social media following, his brand deals. When the old man shuffled past to check the range schedule, the young shooter had nudged his friends and laughed. Look at Grandpa. Probably thinks this is a turkey shoot at the county fair. Someone should tell him the nursing home van leaves at 4. The veteran had paused, turned slowly, and met the young man's eyes with that quiet, sad gaze that had stared down enemy combatants across impossible distances. He said nothing. Just looked, then continued walking. But the young shooter, emboldened by his audience, called out louder, "Hey, old-timer, you sure you're in the right place? The bingo hall is 2 blocks down. This is for serious shooters." The range master, a former Marine himself, recognized something in the old man's bearing, the way he carried himself, despite the worn clothes and humble demeanor. He stepped forward, but the veteran raised one weathered hand slightly. "It's fine," he said softly. Then to the young shooter, "You seemed confident in your abilities." The young man laughed. "Confident, old man? I've got trophies that weigh more than that antique rifle you're carrying. I shoot professionally." "Aye. This weekend is just practice for me." He gestured expansively at the range. "These targets, I could hit them blindfolded." The veteran nodded slowly, that sad expression never changing. 600 yards, 5 rounds. You interested in making it interesting? The crowd had started gathering, now sensing confrontation. The young shooter grinned, smelling blood in the water. "You want to compete against me, seriously?" He looked around at his friends, at the growing audience. "What are we shooting for, old man? Your social security check?" "Whatever stakes you're comfortable with," the veteran replied quietly. His hands, scarred and steady, rested calmly at his sides. The young man pulled out his wallet, made a show of counting bills. $1,000, says you miss? Hell, I'll be generous. I'll give you 5 shots at 600 yards. You clear all 5 plates, you win. You miss even once, money's mine. He slapped the cash on the registration table. Easiest grand I'll ever make. The rangemaster looked concerned. "Son, that's a lot of money." "You don't have to." "I'll take that bet," the veteran said simply. From his own worn wallet, he counted out 10 $100 bills, placed them carefully next to the young man's stack. The bills were old, creased, probably his savings for the month. Someone in the crowd whispered that this was crazy, that the old man was going to lose his rent money. The young shooter was practically bouncing with excitement. "This is going to be good. Someone film this. My followers are going to love watching Grandpa here. Learn some respect." He turned to the veteran. "You want to shoot first, old man? Give you a chance to back out before you embarrass yourself?" "Wah, you first," the veteran said quietly. "I'll shoot after." The crowd moved to the observation area as the rangemaster set up 5 steel plates at 600 yards, small targets that would require precision and skill to hit consistently. The young shooter made a production of his preparation, adjusting his rifle's expensive scope, checking wind conditions with a digital device, talking through his process for the cameras his friends had pulled out. He settled into a prone position on the shooting mat, his form textbook perfect, his equipment gleaming in the afternoon sun. His first shot rang out, a hit. The distant plate sang with the impact. The crowd applauded. His second shot, another hit. 3, 4, 5, all hits. Clean sweep. He stood up, grinning, arms raised in victory. "That's how it's done, people. 5 for 5. He turned to the veteran. "Your turn, old man. Try not to hurt yourself." The veteran moved to the shooting line without ceremony. He opened his rifle case, revealing a weapon that made several experienced shooters in the crowd inhale sharply. It wasn't an antique. It was a military precision rifle, worn from use but meticulously maintained, the kind of weapon that had seen real combat, real missions. He loaded 5 rounds with practiced efficiency, his movements economical, professional. No wasted motion, no showboating. He settled into position, and something changed. The sad, tired old man seemed to transform. His breathing slowed. His body became absolutely still. The crowd quieted, sensing they were witnessing something different now. Through his scope he acquired the first target, made a minute adjustment for wind, and fired. The plate rang immediately. Second shot hit. Third. The young shooter's grin was fading. Fourth shot hit. The veteran's breathing remained perfectly controlled, his ancient body remembering skills burned into muscle memory decades ago, in places most of these people couldn't find on a map. Fifth shot. The rifle cracked, the distant plate sang. 5 for 5, perfect score. But the veteran didn't stand, didn't celebrate. He simply cleared his weapon, safed it, and rose slowly to his feet, that same sad expression on his weathered face. The young shooter's face had gone pale. "Lucky shots," he muttered. "Wind probably shifted in your favor." The rangemaster was staring at the veteran with new recognition. "What's your name, sir?" The old man hesitated, then said quietly, "James Mitchell." The rangemaster's face went white. "Sergeant Major James Mitchell." His voice cracked slightly. "1st Battalion, 75th Rangers." The veteran nodded once, a tiny movement. "Oh my God," the rangemaster breathed. He stood at attention immediately, rendered a crisp salute. "Sir, I served under your command in Kandahar. You saved my entire squad at Takur Gar." The crowd pressed closer, confused, sensing something significant happening. The young shooter looked between them, his confidence crumbling. "What? Who is he?" The rangemaster's eyes were wet. "This man," he said, his voice carrying across the range, "is a legend. Sergeant Major Mitchell was a ranger sniper for 28 years, 3 tours in Iraq, 5 in Afghanistan. He holds the record for longest confirmed kill in ranger history. 1,200 meters. He trained half the sniper instructors in the military. He's got 2 silver stars, 4 bronze stars, and a Distinguished Service Cross." He turned back to the veteran. "Sir, what are you doing here? Why didn't you say something?" The old man shrugged slightly, that sad smile touching his weathered face. "Retired now, just like shooting. Keeps my skills sharp." Didn't seem important to mention. Someone in the crowd had pulled out their phone, was frantically searching. "Holy shit! He's right. Sergeant Major James Mitchell. There's articles about him. He's a genuine American hero." The phone was passed around, showing a younger version of the man in the red jacket, in full combat gear, receiving medals from generals. The young shooter stood frozen, his expensive rifle hanging limp in his hands, his face burning with shame. The range master picked up the 2 stacks of bills from the table, held them out to the veteran. "Sir, your winnings." The old man looked at the money for a long moment, then at the young shooter. "Keep it," he said quietly. "Buy better equipment, but more importantly, buy some humility." The deadliest shooters I ever knew were quiet men who never needed to prove anything to anyone. They let their skills speak. The loudest man in the room is usually compensating for something. He paused. "You've got talent, good form, solid fundamentals, but talent without respect is just noise." The young man's eyes were on the ground. "Sir, I'm sorry. I was completely out of line. I disrespected you. I disrespected your service. I was an arrogant fool." The veteran placed one weathered hand on the young man's shoulder. "We all were. Once I was cocky too. When I was your age. Took some hard lessons to teach me otherwise. Combat has a way of humbling you, showing you what really matters." He squeezed gently. "You've got skill. Use it better. Teach others. Build people up instead of tearing them down. That's what separates a shooter from a warrior." The range master was still at attention. "Sir, would you consider running a clinic teaching some of our younger shooters? We'd be honored." The old man considered, then nodded slowly. "Maybe. I've got time these days. Not much else to do." That sadness flickered in his eyes again. The weight of too many memories, too many friends left behind in distant mountains and deserts. The crowd had completely changed its demeanor. People were approaching respectfully, asking to shake his hand, thanking him for his service. The veteran accepted each greeting with quiet grace, never comfortable with attention, but understanding it meant something to these people. A young boy, maybe 10 years old, approached shyly. "Sir, my dad was a ranger. He said people like you are why he came home. Thank you." The old man's eyes glistened. He knelt down, eye level with the boy, his red jacket dusty from the shooting mat. "Your dad's the hero, son. Men like me just did our jobs. Your dad made it home, raised a good kid. That's what matters. That's what we fought for." He stood slowly, joints protesting, and ruffled the boy's hair gently. The young shooter approached again, this time with genuine humility. "Sergeant Major, I meant what I said. I'm sorry. Would you be willing to teach me? Not just shooting, but the mindset, the discipline, what made you who you are?" The veteran studied him for a long moment, those sad, serious eyes measuring the young man's sincerity. Finally, he nodded. "Come by next Saturday. Early. We'll start with the fundamentals, not the rifle, the mind. The respect, the patience, everything else flows from there." As the crowd began to disperse, as the sun started its descent toward the horizon, the old man packed his rifle carefully back into its worn case. The rangemaster approached one more time. "Sir, it's an honor having you here, truly." "You're welcome any time, free of charge." The veteran shook his head. "I'll pay like everyone else. Don't need special treatment. Just need a place to shoot. Keep the skills alive." He paused, looking out at the distant targets. "Keeps the ghosts quiet for a while." The rangemaster understood. He'd seen that look before in combat veterans, that weight they carried, the memories that never quite faded. "Understood, sir. But know that you're respected here. Always." The old man nodded, once picked up his rifle case, and walked slowly back to his battered pickup truck. His red jacket bright against the fading light, his white hair and beard catching the golden hour sun, his expression still sad and serious. Just another old veteran, unremarkable to those who didn't know, carrying decades of service and sacrifice in silence. He'd won $2,000 today, but left it all behind, choosing instead to teach a hard lesson about respect, about humility, about the quiet dignity of true warriors who never needed to prove anything because their actions spoke louder than any words ever could. The shooting range would talk about that day for years. The day a legend walked among them unrecognized, until his skills revealed what his humble appearance concealed. The day a young shooter learned that the most dangerous men are often the quietest ones. The day everyone present was reminded that you should never judge someone by their age, their clothes, or their unassuming demeanor, because hidden beneath that worn red jacket beat the heart of a warrior who'd served his country with distinction in the hardest places on earth, who'd saved countless lives, who'd earned every bit of respect he never asked for,